Johnson, and for my biology role model project, I chose Stephen Amstrup. So, Stephen was born in Fargo, North Dakota, and has always had a love for nature and wildlife. His favorite show growing up was Wild Kingdom, and he was fascinated by how some people's jobs were to quote unquote save wild animals and their habitats. After high school, Stephen earned his undergraduate degree in forestry at the University of Washington in Seattle. Following that, he was accepted into the MSc program at the University of Idaho, where he studied black bears. After graduating, he briefly worked with the Utah Division of Wildlife and then moved to Wyoming for a job with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. All of these experiences sparked his interest in Alaska's polar bears, and in 1980, Stephen went to Alaska for the first time and focused on understanding the basic biology of polar bears. From here, his love and compassion for polar bears has continued and hasn't stopped since. So I couldn't find much as far as hobbies go for Stephen. I did look for social media accounts linked to him, but none popped up. However, there are plenty of articles related to his awards and commitment to his research on polar bears and the warming climate that threatens them. It is very clear that he has been and continues to be so very dedicated to his work. Which leads me to my next slide, why I chose Stephen Amstrup. To be honest, the main reason I chose Stephen is because I share the same love for polar bears. Come on, they're adorable. But I also share a concern for their environment and survival as well, just like Stephen. And so when I started researching role models for this project, the first thing I searched, if not close to, was biologists who help save polar bears. I'm not even kidding, that's exactly what I searched. And so when I dug further into Stephen and his work, I was so beyond excited and impressed, to say the very least. I admire his compassion for these animals and how he has spent so much of his life dedicated to helping them. Looking into Stephen's work has presented me with such a great opportunity to further explore my interest in polar bears and how climate change is affecting them. And if you couldn't tell already, Stephen is involved in the field of, well, polar bears. With decades of fieldwork behind him, he is now more so focusing on the outreach and education of his studies. His work includes analyzing how global warming affects the ice and therefore polar bears' habitats, and the overall real threats that are present, along with the ones to possibly come in the future. And one of Stephen's more recent publications is titled Unlock the Endangered Species Act to Address Greenhouse Gas Emissions. In this paper, Stephen discusses his research and findings pertaining to the impacts greenhouse gas emissions have on polar bears. And so this figure shown here represents the incline of fast duration and recruitment failure in relation to cumulative CO2 emissions in different subpopulations within the past 40-ish years. And as you can see, the trend line in each graph increases. The average cub survival rate in the 1980s is estimated to be about 70%, and in 2020 it has decreased significantly to an approximate 49%. This data sadly confirms a direct link between CO2 emissions and the decline of polar bear populations. And then, in terms of what Stephen has uncovered, there is way too much to simply summarize. But in 2010, Stephen retired from his 30-year position as Polar Bear Project Leader for the U.S. Geological Survey and is now Bears International Chief Scientist. As Stephen is 73, going forward he plans on carrying an emeritus position and purely wants to focus on enjoying life. His honorable work will hopefully grasp the attention of the public in outreach. Stephen quoted, "As for the future, I hold on to the hope that momentum from the public in recent U.S. actions will finally motivate global leaders to prioritize climate warming. And I won't simply go down in history as a polar bear historian." If you are further interested in Stephen Amstrup's more present work or polar bears, I do strongly suggest that you visit the Polar Bears International website. It explains their mission and impact and provides links to taking action along with so much more. So yeah, that's about all I have to say, so thank you so much for watching.